I hope you enjoyed Harry Belafonte as much as I did. Brings back a few memories, my friends, of traveling to Louisiana through Texarkana. Actually been to those places. They actually exist. So it's just folklore. And luckily, when I went to Arkansas, the sheriff did not stop me and ask me, "What are you doing here?" He let me pass without challenging me. All right, my friends, good afternoon. Welcome to our program, The Inner Voice. You are, of course, tuned to 1422 medium wave. This is our new Pan-Hellenic voice. I am Dr. Gabrielides, and I'll be with you till 1 o'clock. Today, this afternoon, I'd like to talk about graceful living. A beautiful subject, a graceful subject. And Harry Belafonte certainly laid the stage there for us, a graceful gentleman himself. So stay tuned, my friends, for what I hope will be a useful, helpful program to you. I'm going to greet my fellow Greek listeners, and I'll be back with you in just a sec. Καλησπέρα σας, φίλες και φίλοι, κυρίες και κύριοι. Είσαστε συντονισμένοι, όπως ξέρετε, στα 1422 μεσαία κύματα της νέας πανελλήνιας φωνής μας, με την εκπομπή μας σε εσωτερική φωνή. Μαζί σας ο Δόκτωρ Παναγιώτης Γαβριελίδης μέχρι τις 1 η ώρα, όπως το συνηθίζουμε κάθε Δευτέρα. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι λοιπόν μαζί μας και εύχομαι να αναπαύσουμε λίγο και να χαμογελάσουμε λίγο σήμερα. Λοιπόν, alright my friends, I would like to kick the program off by quoting a very wise man, famous among mystics for his mystical writing, and Judeo-Christian writing as well. This scholar, the sage, is Thomas Merton, of course, Thomas Merton. He said, and I quote, "Our real journey in life is interior. It is a matter of growth, deepening, and of an even greater surrender to the creative action of love and grace in our hearts." End quote, by Thomas Merton. Okay, graceful living is our topic for this afternoon, for the next hour or so. Real life, my friends, takes grace. Grace. G-R-A-C-E. Grace. And if we don't have it, chances are we want it. We should have it. The art of living gracefully can be compared to catching the wind and sailing to your destination whichever way it blows, you see. If the wind's astern, which means behind your vessel, you're shooting forward, of course. If it's abeam, which means at right angles to your ship, you set your sails to skim, leaning to your destination. So even if you're heading into the wind, you can tack this way and then get where you're going. What the heck is tacking? Tacking is a maneuver by which sailors cause a sailing boat to turn its bow through the wind. Stormy weather, as we encounter in life from time to time, well, then you just trim your sails or just luff into the wind till it's over. You could laugh as well, but this is luff, L-U-F-F. And luffing, of course, refers to when a sailing vessel is steered far enough toward the direction of the wind, and that's what is luffing. That's what luffing is. Okay, when the vessel is steered far enough toward the direction of the wind. So, or find yourself in stormy weather. You could just drop your anchor, maybe. Consider the situation. Consider your options. Take it from there. Maybe wait until there is no wind. All right, my friends. Graceful living is much like sailing, like I attempted to show you a little bit. It's a useful analogy. It's all a matter of attitude, you see, that you don't get into a huff and a puff. Pardon the pun, talking about sailing. You believe, you just know that there's a force for good at work. That's difficult. difficult to believe that, difficult to accept that, difficult to count on that, especially in stormy weather. How can you, in the middle of a hurricane, when you find yourself in the eye of a hurricane, figuratively speaking, in life's ups and downs, how can you believe that there's a force for good at work? What possible good could this hurricane in your life be bringing to you? You get to learn how to go with the flow in grace, trimming your sails here and there and steering as events demand, realizing that your destination remains constant. You may have to make adjustments, just like the sailors do, but your goal, your purpose in life remains the same. You're not perturbed at the winds, at the waves. There are options. There are ways to deal with the storms of life. There are tools to deal with the storms of life. In the everyday journey of life, dictionaries tell us, graceful means displaying elegance and beauty. The word elegance meaning skillful ease. To put it another way, it means not showing awkwardness, shabbiness, or ugliness. All those are contrary to grace. And in case we need to define living, we can say it's the state of animated being between our entrance into this world and our exit, isn't it? But the key word in today's topic is graceful. Living with grace. In practical terms, perhaps we can agree that it means rising above earthly matters. And in a spiritual sense, that it depicts a God-force quality or generosity of spirit, graceful living. Graceful living. Again, what is graceful living? Is it the image presented to us, the great house? Is it the fine clothes and happy, well-adjusted kids? Is it a personality type? Is that what grace is? Is it a spiritual thing? Do we maybe receive grace like manna from heaven? Where does it come from? How do we receive it? Do we receive it? Is it maybe hurling ourselves through traffic in Gauteng every day? One wonders how one can live gracefully here with all the constant bedlam, noise, pollution, maniacal and death-defying driving, and just general pandemonium. I love that word, pandemonium, made up from two Greek words, pan meaning universal and demonium, of course, meaning demons. So you can imagine these driving in Gauteng, peak hour traffic with these demons having a general pandemonium all around you. Whiz, whiz, by, shriek, crash, bang, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. Difficult to find your graceful feet in that situation. Peak hour in Gauteng traffic, isn't it? Conversely, though, to change the scene dramatically, when we walk through a church, wow, what a difference. Then we must pause and breathe. It smells of layers of incense. The wood and stone have absorbed it, even. If silence has a scent, then surely this is it. Walking through a silent church, enjoying its incense, enjoying its solitude. The light, the smell, and the quiet fill us with peace in that instance, isn't it? Maybe we think, well, this must be grace then. This is grace. Walking through a church, silent church. Is this grace? I ask again, what is grace and how shall we live? A state of apathy, especially in the modern world, most people are apathetic. They don't feel anything. Also from two Greek words, meaning not and pathos meaning passion, feeling. So a non-kind of feeling, a zombie kind of person, an apathetic person, the state of apathy can very quickly permeate a society faced with life's challenges. Reminds me of the old true story in New York. Of course, now it's happened everywhere. This was about 40 years ago. It actually happened. A woman was raped about 40 years ago on the streets of New York. And as she lay there crumpled on the concrete streets of New York, New Yorkers just stepped right over her by the hundreds before someone stopped to ask, well, are you okay? Do you need any help? What's wrong? Apathy, you see. They'd seen everything, and this was 40 years ago. Now it's a lot worse. Now it's even more apathetic. We're getting that way now in Gauteng, aren't we? See someone lying crumpled on the floor? Boy, you just step right over them. A common scene, isn't it? Please, I'm not advocating you do that. We should help wherever we can, of course. Just trying to illustrate the point of apathy here. You see, a state of apathy, I'm saying, can very quickly, doesn't take long, permeate a society faced with life's challenges. When the challenges are too nightmarish, when they're too big, we give up and we become complacent in the face of that, you see? Now, the most important thing, though, is not to stop feeling life. It is the exact antithesis or opposite of apathy. My invitation is not to stop feeling life, not to become lifeless and zombie-like and dead. We have to force ourselves to feel all the more deeply in trying circumstances, in the storms of life, relying not just on outside sources, but also on our inner reserves. Okay? And we have to work on our inner reserves. We can't just manufacture them instantaneously when we need them. I now need inner peace. Oh, okay, switch. Flip the switch on. Okay, here comes inner peace. No. We have to cultivate inner peace. We have to practice inner peace innumerable times so that we can get to the point where we live constantly from inner peace. You see, that is the question before us. How shall we live? How shall we live? We can be distracted and disaffected. It's easy to do that. What? How dare you? Yeah, let me tell you a thing or two. On the other hand, we can't be attentive and alive. Either way is simply the choice we are free to make. It is a choice. Those who embody graceful living live with clear attention and focus, full with great compassion and kindness. Yeah, now we're getting more to what graceful living is. Yes. Clear attention, focus, great compassion, kindness. They seem to draw from a wellspring of deep and abiding love within them. It is the kind of unquenchable love we can only hope to drink from on the rare occasion. Dr. Stephen Post, founder and director of the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love. That's right. What a wonderful institution. There is such an institution called the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love. Wow. I'd love to work there. So Dr. Post said, the secret to bringing more love into your life is giving more love, doing small things with great kindness. End quote. He goes on to tell us to begin simply by being attentive. Don't plan grandiose things in the beginning. You begin with simple, small things. On the journey to unquenchable love, just be attentive. For example, or listen, really listen. Sometimes my beloved tells me, do you ever hear a word I say? Oh dear, 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 my precious, my precious Madalena. Of course I hear every word you say. Well, not every word, but mostly. See, sometimes couples feel like that, especially women of the men. Do you ever listen to me? Do you ever hear anything I say? Oh dear, the battle of the sexes. The eternal battle of the sexes. Yes, dear, of course I hear what you're saying. And I have to repeat back to her what she just said to prove that I was being attentive, to prove that I was listening. Yeah, you see, being kind just takes a few small steps. That's all. Dr. Post decodes love in the following short list. Let me share it with you quickly. His definition of love. He says, love can be transmitted. Love enriches those who give as well as receive. At its best, love is both effective and wise. All spiritual transformation of value is in the direction of love. Religion is only as good as the extent to which it enhances love for a common humanity. Not just for us, for yourself, and for your family, and for your club, and for your team, and for your country. No, for everybody. For a common humanity. Generous, altruistic behavior goes with the grain of human nature and not against it, you see. Can't go around saying, there are too many people on the planet. We should get rid of some of them. Like some unscrupulous satanic scientists are saying. So, there's way too many people on the planet. We should kill half of them. Yeah. One particularly notorious such scientist lives in Texas, to his shame. A very important position in one of the universities there. Can you believe it? That he'd have the gall to stand up, tell the world, tell the press. Boy, did they nail him for that, though. Man. Yeah. And he really meant it. Yeah, we should get rid of half the people in the world. He says there are too many people. Anyway, back to Dr. Post and his definition of love. See, the starting place, he says, for a life of greater love is right in front of you. Right in front of you now. You don't have to wait till you lose 20 pounds before you start on the path of greater love. You don't have to wait until you get the right house, the right car, the right clothes, the right mate. Nah. Dr. Post says, and I agree, the starting place for a life of greater love, and hence happiness and peace and inner joy, is right in front of you now. Love is not just being nice. It is actually hard work. Yeah, sometimes it takes hard work to be loving. Hard work. Sometimes I'm really tired and the phone rings. Sometimes I pretend I'm not there. But other times when I see who's calling, I say, oh no, no. It doesn't matter how tired I am. I really need to take this call. I need to speak with this person. I need to just be there for them. So sometimes love takes hard work. And sometimes in the pursuit of love, we have to risk the confrontation. We have to risk a confrontation with evil even. Dr. Post continues. Love, he says, is the most essential aspect of being human and is our ultimate salvation. That's a strong statement. Love, he says, is the most essential aspect of being human. Wow. That means nothing else is more essential or more important than that. And he says it is our ultimate salvation. And I agree with him 1,000%. And lastly, he says, in the giving of self lies the unsought for discovery of self. This is grace, my friends. This is grace, you see? A definition of love. Grace is many things, but it certainly is all those things I just shared with you as well. Certainly. So we have to evaluate what beliefs we hold about the so-called good life. Have those beliefs supported and enriched us? Have they? If not, why then not take some time and write down what has value for you? Who else is going to do it if you don't do it, right? No one can do it for you. Ask hard questions about your life. Have you maybe become complacent? Do you live with intention or just by accident? I'll face every day as it comes. I don't really have a plan. Do you feel burdened with things? Conversely, do you have enough? Do you maybe hunger for more and feel less than deserving? The first person to treat with kindness and compassion, my friends, is your very self. As the old adage says, love begins at home. Begin simply. Do small things with great kindness. You see, grace is living our life with intention as well, with purpose and mindfulness. Not just by accident. That's not grace. That's just happenstance, isn't it? Grace is also living our life with frequent, almost constant expressions of gratitude. Very, very profound. The expression of gratitude, my friends, is very profound. Very profound. You cannot experience graceful living if you're not grateful for the good things in your life. Sometimes you have to be grateful even for your sufferings. This is what graceful living is all about, my friends. Mindfulness and gratitude. Living in the present. Mindfulness. Being in the now. Not living in yesterday, not living in tomorrow. Yesterday is gone forever, tomorrow never comes. Because when it does, well, then it's today. See? So we're always only living in today, in the now. We cannot possibly live in yesterday or tomorrow ever, except in our imagination, except in our tortured minds. Graceful connotes beauty, ease, and elegance. There's no struggle there, you see. Now, what about mindfulness? This is attentiveness. As I said earlier, awareness, intention, and purpose. And gratitude, of course. We all know what that is. Thankfulness and appreciation. So, how do we achieve this life of beauty and ease? How do we? Highlighted by attentiveness, awareness, intent, purpose, and thankfulness. How do we? Well, for the answer, we will have to wait till after the break, because believe it or not, we are halfway. Stay tuned, my friends, right here on 1422 medium wave of the new Pan-Hellenic voice. This is Dr. Gabrielides. I'll give you my number in a minute, and again at the end of the program, we're going to go to a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with our program, The Inner Voice. My number, for those of you who do want to contact me, I do consult as a natural medicine practitioner. My number then is 076-189-6690. I repeat, 076-189-6690. Stay with us as we explore the subject of graceful living. Θα πάμε τώρα, φίλες και φίλοι, κυρίες και κύριοι, στο συνηθισμένο μας διαφημιστικό διάλειμμα. Και θα είμαστε πάλι μαζί σε λίγα λεπτά, εδώ στα 1422 μεσαία κύματα της νέας Πανελλήνιας Φωνής. Να συνεχίσουμε το πρόγραμμά μας σε εσωτερική φωνή. Ο Δόκτωρ Παναγιώτης Γαβριλίδης μαζί σας μέχρι τις 1 η ώρα. Θα σας δώσω τώρα το τηλέφωνο μου και πάλι στο τέλος της εκπομπής για όποιον θέλει να επικοινωνήσει μαζί μου για διάφορες θεραπείες με natural medicine, για όποιον θέλει να με συμβουλευτεί για διάφορες θεραπείες. Λοιπόν, μπορείτε να επικοινωνήσετε μαζί μου στο τηλέφωνο 076 189 6690 076 189 6690. Μείνετε μαζί μας. Okay, you're tuned to 1422 medium wave, the new Pan-Hellenic voice. Welcome to the second half of our program, The Inner Voice. This is Dr. Gabrielides, and we're talking about graceful living today. All right, second half, we're going to go to till 1 o'clock. I asked before the break, well, how do we achieve this life of beauty and ease, of grace, highlighted by attentiveness and awareness and intent and purpose and gratitude or thankfulness? Well, part of it is chance or serendipity or synchronicity. Okay, part of it is like a light bulb, going off in your head as you have an aha moment. You say, aha, okay, that's what it is. Part of it, though, and mostly, is also by intent. When we make a conscious decision that we are going to begin to live more gracefully, because our life maybe isn't working the way we want it to or believe that it should. Now, to some people, of course, graceful living comes naturally. Wow, you can see that. And we look at them and say, wow, yeah, wish I was like them. They are a joy to their fellow human beings, a joy to their family, a joy to their friends, a joy to their co-workers, a joy to everybody and even to themselves. Now, some would say that they have the gift of God. But I ask, don't we all? Don't we all? Is it that we need more readily to claim it? Maybe that's all we need. To say, well, look, I do have the gift. I need to claim it. Perhaps some of us have been conditioned by difficult experiences. Our turn of mind may have led a few to complain too often. They have wronged me, you may say. But there is hope for all who might tend to hamper our own happiness. Instead, whatever our complaint, we can turn our heads to life instead of to grievance, you see. You can say, okay, well, I'm going to concentrate on the fact that my glass is half full instead of half empty, you see. That's turning our heads to life instead of to grievance, which comes down to the ages-old advice to all of us to be grateful. However much blame we might feel entitled to cast, and some of us certainly feel entitled, on people or circumstances, we are at least alive, and there must be a reason for that. And even if deprived in some areas of our earthly ways, our inner being or soul can always assure us of our serenity, can't it? We may not give it its due, but it is there for all, given as life itself by whatever is the cause of all. So graceful living then comes as a gift, so natural we really don't have to think about it. All we need do is let it take us by the hand and surrender to that grace. Who can forget people like Helen Keller, who was one of the most serene people in the world in recent times? She was blind as well as deaf. Wow, I certainly don't think I'd be serene. I was blind as well as deaf. And dumb. Could not speak. That's what I mean by dumb. From birth. She was certainly not dumb intellectually. No. And even though blind, deaf, could not talk from birth, she exulted in life. If she can do it, what about you and me, who are not blind and deaf and we can't talk? It's even recorded that Helen Keller was a great fan of popular music. Well, how's that possible? She was deaf. Once at a gathering in Palm Beach where a band was playing Old Black Joe, she reached for a handkerchief saying, "That tune always makes me cry." Amazing. Then she went over to the bandstand, placing one hand on the piano to conduct the band with the other. What an incredibly talented human being. And even when the band leader changed the tempo, playfully trying to trick her or to fool her, she did too, staying right on beat. You see? How is it possible, seeing that she was deaf and could not hear the music? You see, through her sensitive touch, she could feel the vibrations of the music, and she demonstrated a sixth and subtle sense of grace that changed her life, and frankly, that of those around her. Wow, what an example. Helen Keller. If you're feeling that you have problems, well, just think of her. Deaf, blind, unable to talk. Eventually, of course, learned how to talk. So, heartfelt thanks for joys, large or small, puts us on the graceful living track. That's one way we can grow in grace, by being grateful, focusing on the good instead of the bad. And that can lead us to wonderful horizons. At the beginning of the day, our minds are most open and receptive to receive new impressions. One of the most important things we can do is to take full responsibility for the power of the morning. What do I mean by that? Well, if you want to have a non-miraculous day, I suggest that reading the newspaper and coffee form the crux of your morning regimen. Open your eyes and grab for the newspaper and a cup of coffee. That almost guarantees that you will have a non-miraculous day. And of course, also listen to the morning news while you're in the shower. Read the headlines as you're walking out the door. Make sure you're keeping tabs on everything. The wars, the rotten economy, the gossip, the natural disasters. And that, yes, my friends, this will certainly guarantee you a day sans miracles. Sans miracles, without miracles. But if you want the day ahead to be maybe full of a miracle or two, then I suggest and invite you to spend instead some time each and every morning with grace, instead of the morning news and the morning paper and the morning cup of coffee. Not that there's anything wrong with a nice, delicious, organic cup of coffee. I'm partial to that myself. Yeah, I'm definitely not an ascetic. I do enjoy the finer things in life, and a nice aromatic organic cup of coffee. That's certainly one of them, isn't it? So most of us, my friends, wouldn't think of beginning our day, say, without washing the accumulated dirt from the day before off our bodies. Yet far too often we go out into the day without similarly cleansing our minds. Or the first thing we do is throw dirt on our minds by reading the morning news, reading the morning paper, polluting our minds with all the wars, gossip, destruction, politicians. How wonderful the world would be without politicians. Man, what a concept, eh? And our minds, as a consequence of being polluted every morning, morning news, carry more pollution than our bodies. We take care to have a shower, to wash our bodies, dress nicely, but we just fill our minds with all the muck as soon as we wake up. Switch on the radio. In fact, the radio wakes a lot of us up. Not me, man, not me. So our minds carry more pollution than our bodies, for they carry not only our own toxicity, now take note, mental toxicity, but that of the entire world as well. We carry the fear, you see, the anxiety, the stress and pain, not just of our own lives, isn't that enough, but of our families, our nation, and millions all over the planet. You see, our greatest weakness, my friends, is the weakness of an undisciplined mind. Here's my mind, world, just do with it what you want. You want to fill it with junk? Yeah, sure, go ahead. You want to fill it with punk rock? Sure, go ahead. You want to fill it with satanic so-called music? Yeah, go ahead. Whatever you want. I'm totally undisciplined. Yeah, just take my mind and just record on it whatever you wish, you see. But we need not let fear steal the morning. We can consciously choose not to allow our minds to be programmed by the worldly viewpoint that dominates the earth. We can set our day upon another course. Each of us has an inner room where we can visit to be cleansed of fear-based thoughts and feelings. Then fear, my friends, kills everything and pollutes everything. This room, this inner room, we can call it maybe the sanctum sanctorum, is like our inner sanctuary of spiritual light, where we commune with the God force. Now the light is not a metaphor, but rather an actual energy of mystical vibration. So when we begin our morning within, the mind receives a radiance that illuminates our thinking as we go through the day. Imagine yourself sitting in a perfect, comfortable spot for meditation or prayer. Same thing, whatever your preference is. It might be a chair in your bedroom or living room. It is a place of relative quiet and calm where you can go on a regular basis, your sanctum sanctorum, to find the peace that only the God force can give. Not the morning news, definitely not. Not the morning paper. You've come to realize that this time of rest, in its stillness and peace, is beneficent to both your mind and body. Here you come to surrender to grace. To surrender to grace, using a prayer, a meditation, a mantra, to move beyond the frantic and overwhelming thoughts that stalk us night and day, ready to rob us of our peace of mind. You're making your daily pilgrimage home, where your life will be renewed. Now, while the power of such quiet time can be profoundly healing, we often resist it fiercely, don't we? We're addicted to doingness. We're addicted to noise. We can't stand quiet time. We have scores of reasons why we don't have the time to meditate. The kids have got to get off to school. I have to go to work. My partner wants to be with me. I have early appointments. And the list goes on, and it never ends. Yet none of those excuses would be used to avoid taking a shower or getting dressed. It would be ludicrous to say, well, I'm just too busy. I have to give up showers. And yet busyness is a common excuse for why we do not take the time or give the time to meet regularly with grace. To have our daily meeting with grace. Best time is the morning as we wake up. Spend time with grace. Grace is always available, you see. And perhaps that is why we fail to take full advantage of the opportunity. We say, well, it'll still be there. But you get into a bad habit and you never actually sit down with grace. And you lose out. Perhaps it's hard for us to embrace what an astonishing gift is being offered through communing with grace. See, once you meet a few times with grace, you realize, well, I'm only meeting with grace. I am now moving from meeting to communicating to communing. You see, communing is several levels further than just meeting with someone. When you commune with someone, you become one with them. You see, it's one thing to meet with someone. You may totally despise them and yet meet with them. It's another thing to communicate with someone. Well, next time you do that, I'll break your leg. You see, that's communication. But to commune with someone is a wonderful blending of oneness, where via osmosis, the give and take, you each bathe in each other's light and energies, you see, communing with grace. We figure if it's really that easy to do, then how could it be that powerful, you see? That's how we think, erroneously. That's how much we underestimate how important communing with grace is. In choosing not to listen for grace, we're choosing not to hear her. For Grace's voice is a whisper, you see, not a shout, because she's graceful. Not a shout. Now, legend has it that when the angels came to visit men in the dead of night, they asked them to get out of bed and go up to the roof. You see, there they revealed the extraordinary destinies awaiting them. You see the analogy. They have to go onto the roof in order to receive their messages. The roof, of course, symbolizing their higher mind. Can't commune with grace when you're thinking about slapping somebody, or stealing from somebody, or lying to somebody. See? If angels merely tell you to sit up in bed, your mind and body being still close to sleep, you're not able to hear them. So we have to be in a heightened, awakened state if we wish to hear the voice of grace. We got to go to the roof, in analogy, to our higher mind. You see, certain insights come to us after 5 or 10 or 20 minutes of communing or meditating with grace, which simply do not emerge from the shallow waters of normal waking consciousness. You have to delve deep. Setting our mental focus within deeper waters in the morning helps ensure that our mind will remain there throughout the day. Time spent in morning meditation can save hours of tears and frustration shed later over something we have said or done that we wished we had not said or done. How many times have we not all said to ourselves, how could I be, how could I have been so dumb, so stupid? The answer is that we're not dumb or stupid. We were simply at the mercy of a frantic, undisciplined mind, not centered in its own sublime power. We were focused on things that were ultimately unimportant, while the deeper issues of life were left mainly ignored. See, these are the things that are bound to happen when we do not take the time each day to purify our thoughts. As little as 5 minutes spent with grace in meditation, in communion, in the morning, will guide our thought forms to be more harmonious throughout the day. Each morning we can begin with spiritual confidence, surrendering to the way of grace. Each day can then be a glorious canvas painted by the hand of the God Force. And I'd like to end, my friends, with a story about the Buddha. One man once, I had a lot more to share with you, but time's up. One man once asked the Buddha, "Are you a god?" The Buddha replied, "No." The man then asked, "Are you a magician or wizard?" The Buddha replied, "No." The man then asked, "What are you?" The Buddha replied, "I am awake." I am awake. Are we awake, my friends? That is the question. Are we awake? Go with grace, my friends.